Was this the Falcons' biggest offseason gamble or their smartest move? Picture this. You're sitting at a poker table, holding a decent hand, but nowhere near the nuts. The player across from you just went all in. Do you call with everything on the line, or do you fold and wait for a better opportunity? Well, folks, the Atlanta Falcons just pushed their chips to the center of the table, and the move has everyone scratching their heads. The 2025 season is shaping up to be one of the most intriguing chapters in recent Falcons history. Michael Penix Jr. is stepping into the spotlight as the undisputed starting quarterback, ready to lead what many believe could be one of the most explosive offenses in the league. The future looks bright, the pieces are falling into place, and the energy around Mercedes-Benz Stadium is electric. But then, there's that one move. That head-scratching, eyebrow-raising decision that has fans and analysts alike wondering if General Manager Terry Fontenot lost his mind or if he's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. The Falcons traded away a future first-round pick to move up and select Tennessee's Pearce Jr. And honestly, it's the kind of move that makes you wonder if someone spiked the water cooler in Flowery Branch. Now, before we dive deeper into this rabbit hole, let's be crystal clear about one thing. This isn't about Pearce Jr.'s talent. The kid can play. When you watch his tape from Tennessee, you see flashes of brilliance, moments where he looks like he could terrorize opposing quarterbacks for the next decade. The raw athleticism is undeniable, and his pass-rushing instincts are legitimate. But here's where things get complicated, and why this trade has so many people scratching their heads. The Falcons entered this offseason with a clear mission: fix the defense, particularly the pass rush that had been about as intimidating as a gentle summer breeze for far too long. They identified their needs, they had a plan, and in many ways they executed it beautifully. Adding Jalon Walker alongside Pearce gives them two young athletic pass rushers who could potentially transform their defensive front. On paper, it looks fantastic. But here's where the story takes a turn that would make even the most seasoned NFL executives do a double take. Pearce wasn't exactly the cleanest prospect coming out of college. We're talking about a player who had some legitimate off-field concerns, combined with the fact that he was essentially a part-time player during his college career. When you're investing a first-round pick, especially a traded-up first-round pick, you typically want someone with a more complete resume. The concerns about Pearce's run-stopping ability are real and documented. In today's NFL, you can't just be a one-dimensional pass rusher who disappears on running downs. Teams will exploit that weakness faster than you can say play-action fake. Yet here are the Falcons, betting the farm on a player whose college production, while impressive in certain areas, came with more question marks than a Riddler's convention. What makes this trade even more perplexing is the timing and the team's current status in the league hierarchy. The Atlanta Falcons are coming off an 8-9 season. They're not the Kansas City Chiefs looking to add one final piece to complete a championship puzzle. They're not the Buffalo Bills trying to get over the hump after years of playoff disappointment. They're a team that isn't even favored to win what many consider the weakest division in the NFC. The NFC South has been a revolving door of mediocrity in recent years, and yet the Falcons still can't confidently claim they'll emerge as division champions. When you're in that position as a franchise, trading away future first-round picks feels like borrowing against a paycheck you're not sure you'll earn. It's the kind of move that championship contenders make, not teams still trying to prove they belong in the upper echelon of the league. Think about the successful franchises in the NFL and how they approach the draft. The Patriots during their dynasty years, the Steelers' consistent excellence, even more recent success stories like the Chiefs, they all understood the value of draft capital and were incredibly strategic about when to spend it. They didn't mortgage their future unless they were absolutely certain they were one or two pieces away from a championship. The Falcons, on the other hand, are still building their foundation. They have Michael Penix Jr. taking over at quarterback, which brings its own set of unknowns. They've made improvements on defense. But let's be honest, they're still several pieces away from having a unit that can carry them through a deep playoff run. In that context, trading away a future first-round pick for any single player, let alone one with as many question marks as Pearce, feels incredibly short-sighted. But here's where the story gets interesting, and where Fontenot and the Falcons' brain trust might actually know something the rest of us don't. Maybe they see something in the combination of Walker and Pearce that goes beyond individual talent. Maybe they believe that having two young, athletic pass rushers who can develop together will create a multiplicative effect on their entire defense. There's something to be said for getting younger and more athletic on defense, which is exactly what Atlanta accomplished this offseason. The previous regime's approach of patching holes with aging veterans clearly wasn't working. Perhaps the front office decided it was time to swing for the fences, to make a bold statement about their commitment to building a winner. The optimistic view is that Fontenot saw two players who, when developed properly, could anchor the Falcons' defense for the next 8 to 10 years. If Walker and Pearce both hit their ceiling, suddenly that traded first-round pick looks like a bargain. Elite pass rushers don't grow on trees, and when you find players with that kind of upside, sometimes you have to be aggressive. But that's a lot of ifs for a franchise that can't afford many more rebuilding years. The Falcons have been stuck in mediocrity for too long, and their fan base deserves better than moral victories and what-if scenarios. They need results, and they need them soon. The really frustrating part about this entire situation is that it didn't have to be this complicated. The Falcons could have addressed their pass rush needs without mortgaging their future. They could have been patient, developed the players they already had, and waited for the right opportunity to strike. Instead, they chose to roll the dice on a high-risk, high-reward scenario that could either make them look like geniuses or leave them wondering what might have been. Time will ultimately be the judge of this decision. If Pearce develops into the elite pass rusher the Falcons believe he can become, and if that development helps propel them to division titles and playoff success, then nobody will care about that 2026 first-round pick they traded away. Success has a way of making even the most questionable decisions look brilliant in hindsight, but if Pearce struggles to adapt to the NFL level, if those concerns about his run defense prove prophetic, or if off-field issues resurface, then this trade will go down as one of the most short-sighted moves in recent franchise history. And that's a risk that an 8-9 team probably shouldn't be taking. The bottom line is this: the Atlanta Falcons made a move that championship contenders make, but they're not championship contenders yet. They bet their future on potential rather than proven production, and they did it at a time when their roster still has significant holes that need filling. Whether that makes them bold visionaries or reckless gamblers remains to be seen. One thing's for certain: this upcoming season just became a lot more interesting for Falcons fans. Every James Pearce Jr. snap will be scrutinized. Every pass, rush will be analyzed, and every game will carry the weight of that traded first-round pick. No pressure, right? What do you think about the Falcons' bold move? Are they aggressive competitors finally ready to take the next step? Or did they just mortgage their future for a player who might not be ready for the big stage? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button if you're as fascinated by this wild off-season move as we are.